Hello everyone, I'm Peter Bomberger, the 65th Commodore of Coral Reef Yacht Club. A few lucky families were fortunate enough to call our clubhouse their home. And one thing is constant, it was always in the headlines. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Miramar.
Across the dazzling waters of Biscayne Bay, originally known as New Biscayne, with the skyline of downtown Coral Gables as her backdrop, sits a majestic destination where lives are enhanced, memories are made, and stories are told. Coral Reef Yacht Club. But before the love of life on the water filled the clubhouse, these walls heard other stories of different times and different families, but of equal intrigue. The story begins in the early 1920s when the land was vacant and the original home of Coral Reef Yacht Club was built as a private residence. Before the structure was even built, 2484 South Bayshore Drive was making headlines.
In the Herald Telephone, about 100 years ago, the headline reads, $100,000 mansion on Bayfront planned. C.C. Cole of Chicago to start residence within a few days.
The home is inspired by famed architect Walter DeGarmo.
But it wasn't built by DeGarmo. The article goes on to say, architects Robertson and Patterson have completed the plans.
The grand structure going up along what was known as Coconut Grove Road, where Miami's wealthiest winter residents built large bayfront estates. The newspaper article goes on to detail some of the features for the Cole residence.
On the first floor, living room, entrance hall, dining room, and kitchen. On the second floor, 3 bedrooms, sitting room, and a screened-in loggia, and 2 baths. The carved stone mantel and cypress beam ceiling will give the living room a rich atmosphere, the same beautiful setting we still enjoy today. In the original home, there was a 2-automobile garage, above which will be the servants' quarters. Extending high over the roof will be a tower from which an unobstructed view of the bay and the ocean can be obtained.
The original home was named Miramar. It was built by Bill Cole's grandfather, who remembers the stories passed down from generation to generation.
It had a lot of personality and charm and, was quite gracious. Well, when they built, and this is what attracted them to want to be right on the bay was clear, the water was completely clear, and you could see the wildlife, the fish and everything, and the coral. That water was shallow back then.
In the early 1920s, the population of Miami-Dade County was about 10,000, nothing close to the nearly 3 million people we have here now, about 100 years later. And the Coles were very prominent, making headlines for just about anything.
Mrs. Cole is a hostess at reception and tea.
The first 1936 model Ford to be delivered to C.C. Cole on South Bayshore Drive.
Mrs. Cole entertains at her home on South Bayshore Drive.
Coles start north from Florida home. The Coles spent winter at Bayshore home. They left by motorcar for Chicago on Tuesday.
But it wasn't all glamour and fun for the Coles. Shortly after Miramar was built, came the infamous 1926 hurricane.
They had heard talk it was supposed to be a bad storm, but no one had ever experienced one. They were in the house, which is now the yacht club, and the waves went over the house, taking all the tiles off, and the water came up to the ceiling downstairs.
In this letter by C.C. Cole, obtained by the Miami Herald, Cole wrote,
"An occasional wave cleared over the top of the house. Downstairs was utter black ruin and desolation. Seaweed, nasty stinking muck, crabs crawling around through the mess, but thank God for a well-built house."
The 16-foot piers, as supports and, survived the storm, and many others since then, which attests to the fact that, still there is the basic structure of the Coral Reef Yacht Club today.
Now, Clifford, or C.C. Cole, got the waterfront property from his father, Ernest Cole. He was an inventor who made the family fortune with the Cole's hot blast stove. Ernest fell in love with Miami at the turn of the century and purchased a large tract of land from Tiger Tail to the bay.
Across South Bayshore, and that was considered like a private driveway. It's the way it was laid out, and it was 14 lots, and my great-grandfather kept 2 lots for himself up on the bluff, and then there was 4 lots for each one of his 4 children, and then 8 lots for his 8 grandchildren.
Clifford Cole's dad, Ernest Cole, built his house further away from the water across South Bayshore Drive. He named his home Treasure Trove. The present-day condos still kept the name.
Well, Treasure Trove was my great-grandfather's house, and he built it in 1914. He acquired the property in 1912, and he retired to Miami from Chicago, and that's where my father was from.
So why did they call it Treasure Trove?
Back then, of course, with no entertainments for children.
So Ernest would hide real gold nuggets around the property for the kids to find, gold he would get on his worldly travels.
He had brought some gold nuggets back from Alaska on one of his trips, and he pounded little pieces of gold in the Oolite limestone and hid them in the caves for the kids to find. And of course, they had thought they had found wonderful pirates' treasure.
Word got out, and it was printed in a number of publications. The Miami News in 1913 headline reads,
Bluebeard's money chest is found on Bayshore. It describes hidden treasures of fabulous worth. Finds pirates' gold, remnant of the old days of Captain Kidd.
But it turns out it was just a rumor, enhanced for tourists, the inception of fake news.
The tour people made that up.
Clifford sold the property in the late 1930s, and that's when royalty moved in. In 1937, Dr. Donald G. Culp Sr. and Countess Lariche Culp moved into the home, and the headlines of 2484 South Bayshore Drive continued, with more prominent guests of the doctor and the Bavarian Countess.
Countess Lariche Culp, 2484 South Bayshore Drive, is giving a tea in honor of Princess Nina Caracciolo.
In 1949, businessman George S. Engel purchased Miramar. It then became known as the Engel Estate. Mr. Engel, an oil tycoon turned developer, is known for purchasing and renovating the Coconut Grove Playhouse and building the Engel Building in the Grove. And once again, the headlines surrounding the events of 2484 South Bayshore Drive continue.
A Miami Herald article in 1950 states, a buffet supper dance to be given by George Engel in their Coconut Grove home. This will be the first large party to be given by the Engels in their recently purchased home, 2484 South Bayshore Drive. Another Miami Herald article states, postman, telephone ring many times with party news. December date books are filling rapidly as the postman or telephone brings news of parties. Friends of George Engel, 2484 South Bayshore Drive, will be seeing their newly completed swimming pool for the first time on December 15th as they host a cocktail party.
And when well-known actress at the time, Tallulah Bankhead, would perform at the Engels Coconut Grove Playhouse, she would stay at the Engel Estate, presently Coral Reef Yacht Club. Tallulah was known for her husky voice, outrageous personality, and devastating wit.
As far as Engel and the yacht club, Tallulah Bankhead was one of the last guests at the yacht club. She didn't want to leave.
In 1955, a group bought the land and home from Engel to turn it into a yacht club. Records show there was a 2-month delay in moving in because Bankhead was staying in the estate and didn't want to go.
Though Coral Reef Yacht Club was officially established in 1955 as the Royal Palm Yacht Club, the beginnings took place in countless meetings with 50 stalwart sailors who had a dream of a better South Florida yacht club. Edward S. Christensen, a retired businessman from up north, refused to let the dream die. He happens to be my grandfather. At a meeting at his house seen here in the early 1950s, when many were ready to give up, he pronounced, "Gentlemen, we have a yacht club."
And now Coral Reef Yacht Club has been housed at 2484 South Bayshore Drive longer than any owner, any countess, any oil tycoon. It's made up of like-minded, water-loving individuals and families, creating new memories, appreciating and respecting the stories of the past, and knowing that Miramar has more stories to tell as she continues to make headlines for the rest of her days.
We hope you enjoyed your first look at Miramar. As we continue to celebrate the centennial anniversary of this clubhouse, keep your eye out for part 2, when Miramar became what it is today, Coral Reef Yacht Club.